Okay, I gotta ask though, if you were like an icon, because you know how I've kind of taken up the lobster icon. If you were an icon, what would you be?
If I'm an icon,
Yeah, like how do I say this? If you wanted like an ambiguous image sitting in the internet to represent your character, what would it be?
just my normal face, I guess.
No, it has to be like okay. So the thing, okay, I'm gonna come up with a funny concept. This icon concept is that it's something of the internet that just resonates
hmm
with you, that you want to like kind of put towards your identity a little bit. You know what I mean? But it didn't come from you. How's that? So
So,
it's
so,
an
so
external
it,
influence. External influence, let's say.
so it can be like I can
A
be the
meme. You could be
like a cameraman guy kind of thing like that.
you can just if you okay. I need that image. That's all I need though. Can you pull something from the internet and give me something that would be you? You know. I think that could be a pretty interesting challenge for people, like just understanding, because you know how we have the concept of external influence anyway. Like,
Mm,
is there something that's always resonated with you that you kind of adapted? I mean, half the time we consume so much stuff on our phones anyway. But isn't there
mm,
something that probably stuck with you, like, hey, that kind of is my
mm,
gig?
not
And for me,
really.
it is this homie, the lobster. I freaking love aerodynamics of the lobster. Whoever the hell made
Like
this is a
I don't know.
genius.
For me, there's so many. I can't really say.
Well, it doesn't have to be one. That's the thing. I'm only saying one for now. For now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Oh, come on. Almost everything is temporary. Let's be real. It's not even, you know, nothing truly is as we know for now that everlasting. But I don't want to get in the whole argument. Okay,
mm,
I'm just putting that as
uh,
a point for the moment in time.
no, like okay. So like for you, like okay, you see you as a lobster and things like that. Like
It's
I
just
get it
funny.
too.
I
But
appreciate
like
it.
like but for me, it's like when you said that, it's like it's so massive to the point that I can't think of anything. You know what I mean? Because like everything is important, but it's just I can't sum it to anything. And it's like for me, it's like when I think about it, it's like very everlasting. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really
What an
doesn't
interesting concept. Hey,
it
yeah.
it doesn't really have like a, for example, you said that it's gonna like comes and goes, like, but the thing that right now is gonna stick with me for a long time, to be honest. And I
Mm.
don't know like if there's anything like it will go anytime sooner or
Okay,
later.
okay. Let me
I think
rephrase
I'll,
this then. Sorry, go on.
like if you mean like a avatar or something like that,
Because
maybe the
Avatar is representative of kind of it's a lot more representative. What I wanted was just something that you just thought was cool and wanted
oh
to be a part of your identity for the moment in time. It doesn't have to be like everlasting.
if that
It could be
if you
anything.
if you said that, it's probably like the aesthetic of really low, like old school anime.
There you go. Give me that icon, please. Like if you can just find one, just for the momentary. I'm
It's
doing a little bit of a funny experiment.
it's probably the icon that I'm using right now for my Discord, something like that across the line.
Oh my gosh, give me a little image so I can put it on
I
and
don't.
on and on. JT, please. It's funny. Okay, we're gonna come up with this concept of small external influences that actually
Because
attribute to
like
your building of a character,
because
or you
because
genuinely just find funny.
because okay, so you go
Yeah.
to Google Images, right, and
No,
just
I'm not
search.
going to Google Images. You're going to Google Images.
No, it's like legit in front of your face.
What is it?
So like is you pretty much go to Google Images, search "oh anime," and you can find a freaking image that is the one I'm using right now.
I'm gonna use you as freaking Ash from Pokemon.
No, you see like okay, I'll send you
Yes,
some.
I know that. I know that. I know that. I know that. By Tess on We Heart It. Yes.
Yeah, so that's like I don't know. For me, like I do love this type of all aesthetic qualities. So like that's pretty much like I found it cool,
So
I
which
guess.
one do you want me to use?
Just doesn't matter. Just use one of them.
Oh, alright, I'm gonna come up with this next time. I'm gonna come up with a
Just use
little
my one. Just use the one.
your icon.
I just send you the picture.
It's turned into our Discord icons.
I Discord icon. What do you mean?
Just send it to my. Look at your Discord icon and look at my Discord avatar.
Yeah.
It's the same
What you want?
thing. I'm Lobster.
Okay.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah, so like I guess that's if you say in that point, like that's pretty
It's just
much it.
something temporary. It doesn't have to be like,
No, like even because like for me when I usually pick like quote unquote something, I don't really pick for temporary. I pick for long as and just stick with me for like a long as time. So like I don't really say that this go with me and things like that go with that.
Hmm.
Like mine used to be fucking Pikachu, but my aesthetic still stick with the same because it's still like it'll still look old school and things like that. So I don't know.
True, true, true. Yeah, fair. That's how it goes.
Mm. So yeah,
Oh,
that's pretty
well.
much it.
Hmm.
So what are you gonna do
Interesting.
with the picture now?
Depends. I'm coming up with small things because I'm gonna do like a little progression. So every time we're gonna have like a chat, I'm gonna do like a little topic, which one on the larger scale of things. Because you know how like this is all random chat, but buried underneath it is some sort of little magic
Mm.
topics. One of them is that kind of, how do I say this, that idea of like a small external influence.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be everlasting. It can be temporary, but it's
Mm.
just that small kind of progression that makes you change your view the slightest bit about everything. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's just something you appreciate dearly. Not dearly, wrong word. Something you appreciate. And I guess to an extent, it may not seem like a lot to you as a person, but it kind of just shows, a bit more of appreciation for smaller things rather than always trying to plan ahead of major things to come. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Brings you an aspect of peace. Jokes. That's a bit of a way too head above the clouds type of concepts. Anyway,
Mm.
down to earth.
Yeah, and like for me, like I do mean I know what you mean. Like mean like sorry, I do know what you mean as well.
hmm.
It's just like I don't know, like sometimes like we can be like it can be something like normal, like we talk about like different type of things, and something like we can just jump on like oh like you think like if you make a Roomba fly like
An air
how
vacuum. An air
like
vacuum.
exactly like how effective will it be? You know what I mean?
An
And
air
then like
vacuum. Oh my
yeah,
goodness me.
exactly. And then it's like you say, oh, you can filter the air, but it's like, but wouldn't a normal Roomba do that or anyway? Or like a normal, like, would it actually
Oh,
work? Because,
an air
like, will it,
Roomba.
yeah, like, would it actually work though?
What
Like,
the
if,
heck is
for
it gonna
example, like,
suck up? It's
I don't
supposed
know,
to
that's the
suck up
point.
solid dust and stuff. That's what a Roomba does.
Yeah, so like, if that's the case, like, you say there's no object in the air to suck up, right? But
Okay, yeah, I'd say that.
I can compete with you saying that there is dust, so like, is it capable of sucking the dust out?
Oh,
You know
maybe
what I
an
mean?
anti-asthma machine. Oh,
Yeah,
jokes. No,
but like,
asthma is like such a different
no,
and difficult more. It's
yeah,
not just
no, no,
that.
no,
Come on.
no,
A
that
lot more
could work
things to
too.
that.
But like in
No,
that,
there's a lot more
if you said
complications to that than just that. Mm.
yeah, but if it sense that like vacuum and like vacuum cleaner and things like that, they
Mm.
usually create more dust too. So
Oh, duh,
how
yeah.
how you know what I mean? But like is there like a
Mm.
scientific term or like a mathematical term saying that like a certain percent is like this is your work now or some certain percent of is other people's work. You know how people say like you can just you don't it can be similar but you just have to change it, right? But in the sense of that, like can I put like on like I can took an art book from like like I don't know Da Vinci or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then for example the Mona Lisa, and I just put a dot on like not even like not even massive dot, just like a tiny little
Mm-hmm.
dot at the corner of the painting and say this is my work. You know what I mean? Like how far will it go, right? So like that is like the
There must
the
be some
problem with
proportions. Surely there is some
Mm,
proportions.
yeah. So like if you say the sense, but like for example, some people do like a mustache on the Mona Lisa, which is parody, which is like a transformative work as a
Mm.
sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you said that, right, like why some other things, like for example, you write your name on top of it, like some people say that's not transformative. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
what's the range that you can say something is transformative and something it's the same size, but like why is one is transformative and the other's not transformative? You know what I
That
mean?
is really interesting. How far does something need to be changed to be original?
Exactly. So like if that's the case, like for example, I think it's there's an artist of named Jeff Koons or something.
Uh,
He he hired people
Yeah.
to create his artwork pretty much, and
Hmm.
at the end he said, "This is my artwork." You know what I mean? So like how
Oh.
so how like in what sense that saying what is my artwork and what is not my artwork? Like if if I'm paying someone to do it for, and then I say this is my artwork, can I say this is my piece? Or like I can say this is my piece. I just it's another way of using my resources, quote unquote, my money to make something else. You know what I mean?
But like that gets into the weird question of originality and things. And
Mm.
in legal
So
terms, there's a whole definition which I'm not too researched on, but I'm interested to see what it will be later on.
so like how can you say something is your own and like saying that this is my like this is like I didn't steal anyone's work or like I didn't tell people to made it for me and things like that. Like how far will it go? Like I know like some like I don't know some okay when you think of it like person like Jeff Koons he he paid people for he paid people to create his artwork and he presenting saying it's his own artwork.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how I know him. And like would that break the idea of like artists always have to like create their own artwork to show that I am the one who created or like how some artists they create something cool for example at the start, right?
Hmm.
And they don't have any meaning for it.
Yeah.
Then the more people you look at it and the more people like talk about it, which is great for them. So like it grows popularity and like there's some ideas in the artwork and like it's just come out of an accident, out of nowhere, right?
Hmm.
But can you truly said that like and the fucking okay for example and all the thing went through and even the artist himself saying that when I create when I create the artwork there's no meaning and that's it, right?
Aha.
And then people always talk about his artwork has some sort of meaning, but the artist say there's no meaning to every like. And if that's the case, like at one point the artist like, oh, I can make more money saying that my the artwork has meaning in it and things like that. Like, is it truly? What's the word? Is it truly right or like truly? Like, can you actually say that like this? Like my artwork has some sort of meaning to it. You know what I mean?
It's right.
Because
It's hard to say.
like for example like if I create an artwork of a like a flower, like what
Mm.
wrapping a skull, right? That's the most simplified you can think of, right? I
Hmm.
create that and I say I I was bored and I think this would be a cool idea. And I'm just like, oh this is just cool, man. Like I don't know what to say. And that was the first idea that I've have. Every like the first in like the first person that I tell the first interview that it was massive, I tell everyone that, right?
Hmm.
And then like the more people said that and I truly believe that at the start. And like the more people that look through my artwork and they're just like he's lying or something like that. It's like, he must have a deep meaning. It's like saying like, oh, you look at the rose and then you look at this like a flower. You look at the flower and the skull.
Hmm.
That means like there's something living, but if something is dead, it can like reflect the human life and things like that, right?
Hmm.
And when you said that, okay, make makes sense. But the artist already said there's no meaning to his artwork, nothing whatsoever.
Hmm.
And just instantly, one day the artist heard that about that idea. And he's like, that's my artwork. Like that's the meaning of behind my artwork. And he just go off that tangent. And like
Hmm.
and like and you have a recording of him saying that my artwork has no meaning from the beginning and there's nothing else, right?
Hmm.
Like how would that fit into the narrative saying that like the artwork does have meaning or it's just people try to make something up like out of nothing.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So like how could that work?
Well, I mean, that's when you kind of have to wait and be a smarter person, and not actually put, which is like the whole purpose of this chat is not to put meaning to things, because like half of the things created of their meaning is from the imagination of other people. So like you don't know, like I think that's why initially we're like the concept of a definition is pretty like diminishing. It's like more of a box than it is anything.
Mm,
We're so fascinated about putting things in boxes that we can sort out that you know, since it's in a box, then that's all it'll ever be, you know.
mm,
And the way I think of a definition is just it's simply or like an explanation to something could make whatever it was lose more meaning than it already had. Because
mm,
for one, it's like almost just potential as it is. But then
mm,
come out with a concept of someone looking through it a lens, they have a box to put around it, you know.
mm,
For one, I could put I don't know, seeds to some apple tree,
mm,
you know, to let's say a person who doesn't know what the heck those are, they can put it in the
mm,
tiniest box in the world. But then to someone who knows the potential of the apple seeds, they can put it in the biggest box in the world, right?
mm,
And in reality, two boxes, different definitions, different potentials from different perspectives, have completely different sizes,
mm,
but what's inside? The same thing, you
mm,
know? But the thing is, the hard thing about trying to grasp this concept of definitions to being boxes
mm,
is that you don't actually know what's inside. So how could you ever tell, you know?
mm,
It's the concept of floating chaos again, of just allowing
mm,
it to be what it is. But that's so
mm,
scary to us. So it doesn't work with human nature to have
mm,
things meaningless because you're trying to make sense of things and it doesn't make sense to have something as it is.
mm,
But yeah, that's kind of my take on that whole idea.
mm. And like, if that's the sense, right?
Hmm.
If that's the sense, like how, like that's where the whole thing of like being delusional and being not like sane. I
Yeah.
think that's where the whole idea that for me it comes in. It's like if the artist said there's no meaning behind it, and then people try to find like something behind art, like the artwork, like would that make them delusional, or would that make them like normal? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So like, and then like if like for example like the artists do like at the end like do find that like oh they it does have some meaning and he just jumped towards the bandwagon,
Hmm.
and like would that make the artist delusional too? It's set in the sense of that he dropped everything that he believe in to follow a non like an like it does have okay, it's not saying that it doesn't have
Hmm.
meaning, but he reject all his value for something for something that's nothing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like in that sense, like how can you say that something's delusional, like that is not delusion?
Well, it's hard because after asking the concept of defining things, you have to go back to a definition to make sense of anything, you know,
Mm,
which is very contrary, which is why it's hard to argue the existence of definitions without definitions. It's
mm,
almost a contradiction, you know. Without definitions, nothing occurs, you know. Nothing can be objectified into an objective statement. You know what I mean?
mm,
And that just messes with the concept of order, you know. That's
mm,
just chaos, isn't it? And so being delusional is just kind of believing things that aren't like you like not believing it's truth,
mm,
which is what you could say we're kind of doing sometimes, you know, with some of our chats, just being
mm,
delusional at times. But it's not the fact that you always have to be because I've already mentioned like it is diminishing to define something and to explain something.
mm,
It makes you kind of sacrifice potential for sense, which is often a trade many people make without even noticing,
mm,
because not being able to understand kind of renders whatever the heck you're trying to understand meaningless or
mm,
useless, right?
mm,
And so if you can't explain what it is, then no one really knows what you're talking about. And so it like doesn't exist. But at the
mm,
same time, it's also just resting potential. So,
mm,
and this is the perfectly fun thing about our beautiful world of everything only happens with action, right?
mm,
And so naturally, the definition is like action, and it turns whatever you're saying into sense.
mm,
And so when an artist, let's say, disregards all their belief only to follow a bandwagon of people coming up with some whack idea of what their art is,
mm,
um, well, it it's like, oh, this is such a tough argument to make. Like, it's almost half impossible to make sense of something subjective.
Mm.
You know, so true subjective nature kind of exists in itself with this ambiguity or sense of chaotic misunderstanding.
Mm.
Because if things are subjective, then you're actually accepting the fact that there isn't a stable scale in which to measure upon an objective statement. If
Mm.
that makes any sense. So, like, if you're saying it's up to interpretation, you have to leave it up to interpretation, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Nothing up to interpretation is inherently wrong. Others may seem more true and believable because it
Mm.
makes more logical sense.
Mm.
But it's not right to say that it is wrong or disproved, even
Mm.
though you can do as many things as you want, because you've accepted the subjective premise, right?
Mm.
Which you're accepting the fact that everything can be interpreted.
Mm.
Unless you were arguing on terms of something objective, then you can't necessarily make the most concrete facts in a, subjective argument.
Mm.
So it's hard to argue when you're not arguing with the same things.
Mm.
Like with that massive cliche, or not really cliche, but people use, apples and oranges a lot. I mean, it is true. If you're in an apple, like you're tasting, if okay, how do I put this in a funny analogy? Let's say you're given two fruits, right?
Mhm.
You're given an apple and an orange. I can say
Mm.
the apple tastes more like an apple than the orange. That's right.
Mm.
And I can also say the orange tastes more like an orange than the apple.
Mm.
In a subjective sense, they're both true.
Mm.
But if the contest was testing which one tasted more like an apple, obviously the apple wins
Mm.
because to a scale, it meets a requirement. The orange
Mm.
doesn't. But
Yeah.
if you're just asking me what these fruits taste like, well, I'm not comparing anything. I'm just telling you what is there, you know.
Mm.
And there's, as we know it, a million things to what is there. There isn't one solid thing in existence. There's multiple lenses you can take on it.
Mm.
That's only if you are discussing things in subjective. Unless you have something objective to anchor down to the world, it's like you're trying to
Mm.
bring someone down to Earth while you're both in space in the sky fighting with each other. You know,
Mm.
the
Yeah.
heck's the purpose? One of you has to have like some sort of concrete anchor to nail into the floor, and that's the basis you two will argue on.
Mm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so there you go.
So.
Isn't it a weird concept though?
Mm.
Well, you go
It's
on and
very.
on about this. Yeah, sorry, go on.
It's very. What's the word? It's very. It's not. It's not very controversial. It's more. It's. It's very.
Unlogical.
Not unlogical. When two things doesn't like go against each other, but it still makes sense. What's the word, Cogan? It's very.
A contradiction is when both of
Yeah.
them. A
Yeah. Yeah.
contradiction is when both of them kind of disregard each other, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very like contradiction. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like both make sense in a way, but both doesn't. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, of course.
It
They
it's
both
like a
exist to negate each other almost. You know what I mean?
it's like a huge paradox. It's
Ah,
just
yeah.
it's like the way that it really makes sense is it's just it's either your or the like I'm not saying there's only left and right side. Like it's just that it's either with one side or you with the other side, or you're not you're in neither and you go with another side.
Well, I mean, because it's like you're trying to juggle, aren't you?
Mm,
Obviously, you can't focus on. I mean, you can, but like trying to juggle two different things at once is a lot more of a struggle of trying to analyze one thing than if you were just fully focused on one thing. You
mm,
know, which is to say that you can't both argue non-definitive, chaotic things as well as trying to argue with someone who's trying to make it definitive.
mm,
You know, it's like it's in its own realm for a reason.
yeah.
Because if we were to sit here and discuss why, things shouldn't be defined, you can't bring the argument that we should be defining things as well. But
Mm,
in the same sense, things being undefined doesn't exist unless there are definitions, which is why it's
mm,
a hard topic to discuss. It's more of a contradiction.
mm,
So the you won't find any meaning out of it if you're trying to discuss something with something else if they just don't work. you know,
mm,
that's the paradox of a contradiction, I guess. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting chat, man. Interesting chats.
So all over the place.
Yeah, no, I want to play games now, man. None of this. All right, are you
I'm
free to
very
play
excited.
anything?
Oh
Enough
no.
with this heebie-jeebie for now.